Hi, this is Garth again, and we're going to look at adding a little more complexity to our array of boxes. What we have here is our box module that we set up in the last tutorial prior to arraying it. And we're going to edit the way the module works and add a couple more parameters. Let's just start by adding some parameters. If we go down to this f of x once again, and let's add a new parameter of type length and a new parameter of type angle. And again, you have to click this button in order to make it happen. And I'm going to hit OK. Click on this, Alt Enter, change its local name. Let's change it to box dim. And we'll leave the angle name, that's fine. So first, let's make this box dim parameter control the dimensions of our box. And let's start it at 1 millimeter. So our original line, if I open that up, see we have a start and an end, and both of those are actually half of our box dimension. So if I right click in here and go to edit formula, we want to make this minus for the start of the line, box dim, and divide by 2. And for our end, right click, edit formula, box dim, and divide by 2. So now when we change our box dim, let's say 2 millimeters, that turns into a rectangle because we also have an extrude controlling the other dimension of our box. So let's drive that with our parameter as well. So this hidden extrude here, that was the surface, controls the width of our box. Again, we have a limit 1 and a limit 2, and each of them are half of our full dimension. So let's go to the edit formula, box dim divided by 2. You don't do negative for an extrude. And here again, edit formula, box dim divided by 2. Alright, so now our box dimension controls the width and length of the box. Let's make it 0.75 millimeters. What we're going to do now is add a rotate. So we want the box at 0.75, so it's a little smaller than our 1 millimeter grid, so that there's room for the boxes to rotate between each other. Before we add a rotate, we need to add an axis. So let's create a line. This is going to be within our module here. We want to start at the base point. Actually, we want a point direction line there. And the dimensions for this one really aren't going to matter that much. Let's just do a 0 start and a 2 end. Our direction, we're going to want the XY plane. Alright, so there we have our line. Now let's take the extrude, which is our box, and start a rotate. So the first thing it asks for is an axis, and that's what we just drew. An angle, let's just temporarily tell it 45. So now let's hide our original extrude, and let's hide our rotation axis. So all we're left with is this rotated box. But rather than always being 45 degrees, let's tie it to a parameter. So let's double click our rotate again, right click here, edit formula, and let's make it angle 1 and press OK. Right now it's 0 degrees, we can make it 60 degrees. But now let's make it so that this angle is driven by the distance between the base point and the attractor point. So let's double click this parameter. We can right click here and do edit formula the same way that you would in an object parameter. We're just using this user parameter as a go-between here. So in this case, we want to do distance again. So come down to measures, find distance and double click that. Just like before, we're going to double click our base point and our attractor point, so we have the distance between our base point and our attractor point. And let's say we're going to multiply that by 9 degrees. Now the problem here is that we're multiplying a distance by an angle, so we need to get rid of the distance units, so we're going to divide it by 1 millimeter. We're going to hit OK, and we're going to press yes. So now you see this angle has a formula associated with it. And as I move the attractor point, the box itself moves. Okay, so let's press OK there. Now before we finalize our module, we need to keep in mind that we just created a bunch of relations. These are the formulas controlling the new constraints we put on it. Let's drag these into our module. So that it's all self-contained. Just like before, we're going to leave the parameters outside of our module so that they can control everything. So just like in the last tutorial, let's insert a geometrical set and call it array. And set up a series of translates. So now that we have that array, we're going to Control-C, Control-V our module. And again, just like before, go to Module Object, Edit Inputs, Base Point, change to that point. Alright, so now we have 2 boxes there, and again, the rotation of both of them is going to change as we move our attractor point. So what you can do here is you can copy and paste that, do edit inputs to create 5. You can create the array in the other direction. This is all found in the last tutorial on how to do this. That'll create sort of a super module of 25 boxes. You can then package that as its own module, bring all the array points into it, create a new set of array points, and start moving that set of 25 boxes around. And you can add complexity that way. Ultimately, what you're going to end up with is a bunch of boxes, and I'll show you what happens. Okay, so this is a file that I created ahead of time, and what we have here is a whole bunch of nested modules. You can see we have sort of our original single box module. That's nested in with what I'm calling big module. That's an array of 10 of them. Then there's super module, which is 50 of them. Then there's mega module, which is 250 of them. And then this whole thing is super mega module, which is 2,500 of them. And you see, because of the way that the rotations work, we're getting these sort of concentric circle effects waving through them. We also still have our parameters, and we have our attractor point. Now I'm going to turn down here into manual update so I can change a couple parameters at once before it updates. Let's change this point definition. Let's make it at 25 and 25. So we're putting the attractor point in the center of our array. As you can see, nothing updated there because I'm on manual update, so I actually have to click this button before it updates. So that's what I'm going to do now. And then it thinks for a minute. Okay, it just finished updating, and that's what we end up with. Also, we had this angle parameter. Right now it's at 18 degrees. Let's change it back to 9. And then let's let it update again. Hopefully this one will go a little quicker. So we'll let it do this one live. When we go from 18 to 9, it means the boxes are going to rotate less, so we're going to see fewer of those concentric circles in our pattern. Okay, so that's our added complexity via rotate. So using this principle, you can control anything within your module with the attractor point. You can make it change size, twist, bend, whatever you want to do with the next project. So have fun.